The Galactic Unity Academy was the most famous school in the known universe. It floated in space near a peaceful planet called Valoris Prime for 1,000 years. Young aliens from over 300 different species had come here to learn together. They studied science, art, history, and how to get along with beings who looked nothing like them. But in all those 1,000 years, the Academy had never accepted a student from Earth. Earth was classified as a Class 12 Deathworld. This was the highest danger rating any planet could receive. The reasons for this rating were many and terrifying. Earth had a gravity that would crush most alien species flat. Its atmosphere was filled with oxygen, a gas so reactive that it could burn metal over time. The temperature on Earth swung wildly from freezing cold to burning hot, sometimes in the same day. And worst of all, nearly every living thing on Earth had evolved to kill other living things. It was a planet of predators, and humans were the deadliest predators of all. Principal Zorvax called a meeting of all the teachers. Zorvax was a crystalline being whose body was made of living crystal. Light passed through them and broke into rainbows. Right now, those rainbows were flickering nervously. The Terran Federation has been granted membership in the Galactic Council, Zorvax announced. As part of the agreement, we must accept a human exchange student. The student arrives in 3 days. The teachers reacted with shock and fear. Coach Thrin, who taught physical education, raised one of their 4 webbed hands. Thrin was an amphibian, with smooth, wet skin and large golden eyes. "Principal, this is dangerous," Coach Thrin said. "Humans are pursuit predators. They chase their prey until it dies from exhaustion. They have forward-facing eyes for tracking movement. They have teeth designed for tearing meat. How can we keep our students safe?" "The Council assures us this human has a gentle personality," Zorvax replied. "We must trust their judgment." Nobody in the room looked convinced. The human student was named Danny Kowalski. He was 18 years old and came from a place called Wisconsin. Back on Earth, Danny was considered completely ordinary. He was average height. He had an average build, though he had played basketball in school. His grades were average. His teachers described him as friendly, quiet, and unlikely to cause problems. This was exactly why he had been chosen for the exchange program. The humans wanted to send someone who would not start any trouble. Danny arrived at the academy on a transport shuttle. He carried a simple bag over his shoulder and wore the standard academy uniform. He was nervous but excited. He had dreamed of seeing aliens his whole life, and now he was going to live among them. The main entrance of the academy was a huge open space called the Atrium. When Danny walked in, about 200 alien students were there. They came in all shapes and sizes. Some looked like walking flowers. Some looked like giant slugs. Some were tiny and furry with enormous ears. Some had multiple arms or no arms at all. The moment they saw Danny, every single one of them went silent. Danny stopped walking. He could feel hundreds of eyes staring at him. The fear in the room was so thick he could almost taste it. Hi?" he said, raising one hand in a small wave. 3 students fainted on the spot. A flower-like alien actually wilted, their petals drooping toward the floor. A group of tiny furry creatures scrambled behind a pillar and peeked out with wide, terrified eyes. Danny had no idea what to do. He slowly lowered his hand and tried to make himself look smaller, less threatening. It did not work. His assigned roommate was a Veloci named Crix. The Veloci were blue-skinned, humanoids with 4 arms and large black eyes that took up almost a third of their face. When Danny entered their shared room, Crix was pressed against the far wall, trembling so hard their extra arms were shaking. "Please," Crix whispered. "I will give you anything you want. Just do not eat me." Danny blinked in surprise. "What?" "I'm not going to eat you. I have read about your species. Crix continued, their voice shaking. You are pursuit predators. You chase prey until it collapses. Your ancestors hunted giant animals to extinction. You have teeth for tearing flesh. Danny became very aware of his own teeth. He closed his mouth, hiding them. I promise I'm not here to hurt anyone. I'm actually a vegetarian. I don't eat meat at all. This seemed to make Crix even more afraid. You eat plants? You consume living things that cannot even run away from you? That is somehow worse. Danny sighed. This was going to be harder than he thought. The first few days were difficult. Crix slept with one eye open, watching Danny constantly. Other students would change direction in the hallway to avoid walking near him. In the cafeteria, a circle of empty seats always surrounded him. No matter how crowded the room became, Danny tried everything he could think of to seem less scary. He moved slowly. He spoke softly. He smiled without showing his teeth. He made himself as small and non-threatening as possible. Nothing worked. He called his mom back on Earth and told her about the problem. She listened and then laughed kindly. Honey, you're a human on a space station full of aliens who have never seen a human before. Of course, they're scared. Give them time. Just be yourself, and eventually they'll see you're not a monster. But what if they never stop being afraid of me? Then you keep being kind anyway. That's all you can do. Danny took his mother's advice. He continued to be polite and friendly, even when students ran away from him. He helped a Florixian student pick up their dropped books, even though the flower alien was shaking the entire time. He said good morning to everyone he passed, even when they did not respond. Slowly, very slowly, things began to change. Crix stopped sleeping with one eye open. Some students stopped running when they saw him coming. A few even managed to say hello back when he greeted them, but the true test was still coming. Danny had not yet attended physical education class, and that was where everything would change. Coach Thrin had been teaching physical education at the academy for 30 years. In that time, they had learned how to work with students from dozens of different species. Each species had different abilities and different limits. The Florixians were delicate and could break easily, but they could get energy from light. The Gorthaks were huge and strong, but moved very slowly. The Tremari were tiny and fast, but got tired quickly. Coach Thrin had learned how to make gym class work for all of them. But now there was a human in the class, and Coach Thrin had no idea what to do. The coach had done research on humans. What they found kept them awake at night. Humans could run for hours without stopping. They could survive in extreme heat and extreme cold. They could fall from great heights and get back up. They could lose large amounts of blood and keep fighting. They were, by any reasonable measure, nearly indestructible compared to most galactic species. And now one of them was standing in the gymnasium, wearing the standard exercise uniform, looking around with a friendly expression that somehow made him even more terrifying. The gymnasium was a large space that could change its gravity and atmosphere to suit different species. Today, it was set to standard galactic levels, which meant the gravity was about half of what Danny was used to on Earth. Danny did not know this yet. He was about to find out. All right, class, Coach Thrin announced. We have a new student today. This is Danny Kowalski from Earth. Please make him feel welcome. Nobody moved. 30 students from a dozen different species stood frozen, staring at the human like he might attack at any moment. Let us begin with warm-up exercises, Coach Thrin continued, trying to sound normal. We will start with stretching, then a light jog around the gymnasium. Danny joined the other students for stretching. The exercises were designed for the least flexible species in the class, which meant they were incredibly easy for Danny. When the instructor showed how to bend and touch the floor, Danny casually dropped into a full split. Then he bent forward until his chest touched the ground, a Veloci student made a sound like air escaping from a balloon. "That is, very impressive, Danny," Coach Thrin said. "You do not need to stretch quite that far." The jogging portion came next. The pace was set for the slowest students, which meant the group moved at what Danny would call a slow walk. He fell into step with the others, careful not to go too fast. But even moving slowly, Danny looked different from everyone else. The other students were clearly working hard. They bounced and puffed and strained with effort. Danny moved smoothly and easily. His breathing did not change at all. His face showed no sign of effort. A Florixian named Petalus jogged beside him, their flower-like head bobbing with exhaustion. "How are you not tired?" They gasped. "Oh, this is nothing. Back home, I used to run 5 miles every morning before school." 5 miles? Every morning? Before classes? Yeah, my sister ran even more. She did about 10 miles a day for her running team. Petalus made a small sound of despair and focused on putting one foot in front of the other. The warm-up lasted 10 minutes. By the end, half the class needed to sit down and rest. Danny was not even breathing hard. "Now," Coach Thrin announced, "we will practice the obstacle course. It is set to beginner difficulty. The goal is simply to finish it. Speed does not matter." Danny looked at the obstacle course. It had low hurdles that could be stepped over, gentle slopes that were easy to climb, wide balance beams that anyone could walk across. It was the simplest obstacle course Danny had ever seen. "Danny, why don't you go first?" Coach Thrin suggested. "Show us what you can do." "Are you sure?" "I don't want to show off." "Please. It will help me understand how to include you in the class." Danny shrugged and walked to the starting line. The other students backed away to give him room. "Whenever you are ready." What happened next would be talked about at the academy for years to come. Danny exploded forward with incredible speed. He jumped over the first obstacle without slowing down. He cleared the second with a casual leap. He hit the climbing wall and went up it in 3 quick movements. He swung across the overhead bars so fast his hands were a blur. He ran across the balance beam as easily as walking on a sidewalk. The final section was a crawling tunnel that most students took. 30 seconds to complete. Danny dove through it like a torpedo. Total time, 14 seconds. The previous record had been 2 minutes and 43 seconds. The gymnasium was completely silent. Every student, every teacher, every being in the room stood frozen in shock. Danny jogged back to the group, not even breathing hard. "Sorry, was that too fast? I can go slower next time." Coach Thrin's translator device made a strange buzzing sound as it tried to find the right words. Finally, the coach managed to speak. "How?" was all they could say. Danny looked confused. "How what? How did you do that?" That course is designed to challenge students. Some take 5 minutes to complete it. You finished in 14 seconds. "Oh," Danny rubbed the back of his neck, embarrassed. "The gravity here is lighter than on Earth, and I'm used to running and climbing. I've been doing it since I was a little kid. Plus, the oxygen levels here are really good. I feel like I could run forever." Coach Thrin stared at him for a long moment. Then the coach turned to the rest of the class. "I think we will end the lesson early today. Everyone, please go to the changing rooms." The students hurried away, glancing back at Danny with wide eyes. Danny stood alone in the middle of the gymnasium, wondering if he had done something wrong. He had not done anything wrong, but he had shown everyone exactly what a Deathworlder could do. And nothing at the academy would ever be quite the same again. The incident with Bronk changed everything for Danny at the academy. The story spread even faster than the gymnasium stories had. But this time, the story was different. Yes, the human was terrifying. Yes, He could probably defeat any of them without trying. But he had used his terrifying abilities to protect one of the weakest students in the school, the Tramari. As a species, basically adopted him. Danny found himself constantly surrounded by the tiny furry creatures. They had decided that the safest place in the entire galaxy was right next to a friendly Deathworlder. They sat on his shoulders during meals. They rode in his jacket pockets during classes. They slept in a pile at the foot of his bed, even though Crix complained about it at first. "This is not normal," Crix observed one morning, watching Danny carefully move 3 sleeping Tramari out of his blankets. "I know, but look at them. They're so cute. How can I say no? You are a top predator from a death world. You should not use the word cute. Have you seen their little ears, though? They're adorable." Crix made a sound of deep confusion. Coach Thrin had been working on a solution to the Danny problem. After talking with scientists and sports experts, the coach developed a new system. "We are calling it the handicap system," Coach Thrin explained to Danny. "Instead of competing against other students, you will face challenges designed for your species. The goal is to push your limits while letting the rest of the class participate without being scared." "That sounds great, Coach. What kind of challenges?" Coach Thrin showed him a holographic display. "For the endurance unit, while the class runs 2 kilometers, you will run 20 kilometers at full Earth gravity while carrying 50 kilograms of weight." Danny nodded. "Okay, that's pretty tough. What else?" "For the strength unit, the class will practice basic lifting. You will try to break the Academy deadlift record, currently held by a Crethian at 300 kilograms. I can probably lift more than that, but sure. For the agility unit, we are still working on it. We are not sure how to make an obstacle course hard enough for you without making something that would kill anyone else who tried it." The new system worked very well. Danny finally had to actually try during physical education, which he enjoyed. The other students could watch his incredible performances from a safe distance. Their fear slowly turned into amazement. And then there were the questions. Once the other students realized Danny was not going to eat them, their curiosity became endless. They wanted to know everything about Earth, about humans, about the impossible world that had created such a creature. "Is it true that you can eat capsaicin?" Pedalus the Florixian asked one day at lunch. The flower-like alien had started sitting at Danny's table, drawn by curiosity stronger than fear. "You mean spicy food?" "Yeah, some humans love really spicy stuff. I'm not that into it, but my cousin puts hot sauce on everything." But capsaicin is a chemical weapon. It evolved specifically to stop things from eating peppers. "I guess so. But it tastes good, so we eat it anyway." Pedalus's petals trembled. "You eat chemical weapons because they taste good. When you say it like that, it sounds weird." Another day, a group of Veloci found him in the library. They had a list of questions about human history. Danny tried to answer them, but every answer seemed to horrify them more. "So your ancestors really did hunt giant animals to extinction?" "Yeah, mammoths, giant sloths, things like that. We needed food." "And your species fought wars against each other for thousands of years?" "Unfortunately, yes. We're trying to do better now." "And you truly did create nuclear weapons and use them on your own planet? On purpose?" "Well, there was a war and—" "Look, I'm not saying it was a good decision. Your species invented a weapon that could end all life on your planet. And then you used it, twice." Danny shifted uncomfortably in his seat. The history of Earth is complicated. Despite these scary revelations, Danny became more and more popular. The students discovered something almost comforting about having him around. Yes, humans were terrifying, but this particular human was on their side. Having Danny as a friend was like having a very dangerous pet. Scary to think about, but very nice when facing threats. Bronk had not caused any more problems. Decrethian had done his own research on humans and discovered that humans had a long history of defeating much larger enemies through determination and cleverness. He now stayed far away from Danny, and even been seen being almost polite to smaller students. Near the end of Danny's first semester, the Academy held its yearly athletics exhibition. This was a big event where students showed off their physical abilities in front of parents, teachers, and visitors from across the galaxy. It was a chance to celebrate what each species could do. This year, for the first time ever, it would include a human. "Are you nervous?" Crix asked the night before. Danny was doing push-ups on the floor of their room. He was on number 342 and showed no signs of stopping. "A little," he admitted, his breathing still steady. "I don't want to scare anyone, but Coach Thrin says they have something special planned, and I should just do my best. The entire galaxy will be watching. This will be most species' first time seeing what a human can really do. Yeah, no pressure at all." Danny laughed. "I just hope I don't mess up and cause some kind of diplomatic incident. Given your species' history, that seems like a reasonable worry." Danny paused his push-ups to give Crix a flat look. "You know, you've gotten a lot more sarcastic since you stopped being afraid I was going to eat you. I have learned that humans respond well to what you call teasing. I am trying to fit in." "Well, you're doing great. Very natural." Crix's large black eyes blinked. "That was sarcasm, was it not? You're learning, buddy. You're learning." News about Danny's performance in gym class spread through the academy like fire. By dinner time, everyone had heard some version of the story. Some versions said he completed the obstacle course in 3 seconds. Others claimed he had broken the equipment with his bare hands. One rumor said he had eaten another student, though this was easily proven false since all students were still alive. Danny sat alone in the cafeteria, poking at his food. He felt terrible. He had not meant to scare anyone. He had been trying to hold back. When he got back to his room, he told Crix what happened. "I really was trying to go slow," Danny said, sitting on his bed with his head in his hands. "I didn't want to freak everyone out." Crix had become slightly less afraid of Danny over the past week. The Veloci sat on their own bed, watching their human roommate with their large black eyes. "I believe you," Crix said. "But you must understand something, Danny. What you call holding back is still far beyond what most species can do. Your muscles are denser than ours. Your heart and lungs work more efficiently. Your bones are built to survive impacts that would shatter ours. I know, but still, I don't want everyone to be scared of me. I'm not a monster. Perhaps not by human standards. But Danny, your species evolved on a world that tries to kill you every single day. You have bacteria living inside you that would be deadly poison to most galactic species. You can survive temperatures that would freeze us solid or cook us alive. You can lose a lot of blood and still keep moving. You can break your own bones and heal from it." Danny winced. "When you say it like that, it sounds pretty intense." "It is intense. You are, by any objective measure, one of the most dangerous beings I've ever met." The next day, Coach Thrin announced a new activity, team sports. The game was called Gravity Ball. Players used magnetic paddles to move a floating ball into the other team's goal. The teams were chosen randomly, and Danny ended up with 3 Tremari, 2 Veloci, and a Gorthax named Morb who moved extremely slowly. "Okay, team," Danny said, trying to be encouraging. "Let's just have fun out there. No pressure." One of the Tremari, a fluffy little creature named Squee, raised a tiny paw. "Human Danny, please do not kill us if we lose." "What? No, of course not. Why would I do that? We have seen videos of human males becoming violent when their sports teams lose. There are things called soccer hooligans." Danny sighed. "That's not normal behavior. I promise. Let's just play. The game began, and it quickly became a disaster. Danny tried to play fairly. He moved slowly. He swung his paddle gently. He let his teammates do most of the work. But the problem was basic physics. When Danny swung his paddle, even softly, it created a powerful magnetic field. The ball shot across the playing area like a bullet, slamming into the goal so hard that safety systems activated. When the other team tried to score, Danny's reflexes were so fast that he blocked every shot. He seemed to know where the ball would go before it got there. The other team could not score a single point because Danny was always in the right place at the right time. And when Danny ran for the ball, he moved so quickly that the Tramari on the other team actually ran away in fear, abandoning their positions. The final score was 47-0. Coach Thrin stopped the game at halftime. "Danny," the coach said, pulling him aside, "we need to talk about alternative arrangements for your physical education." "I'm really sorry, Coach. I was trying to go easy." "I know. That is what concerns me." Their conversation was interrupted by shouting near the gymnasium entrance. Danny and Coach Thrin hurried over to see what was happening. A large alien was standing over Squee, the tiny Tramari from Danny's team. The alien was a Krethian named Bronk. Krethians looked like rhinoceroses that walked on two legs. They were known for being aggressive and mean. "Pathetic little prey creature," Bronk growled. "You made me look bad on the gravity ball field. Maybe I should show you what happens when you embarrass me." Squee was pressed against the wall, trembling. "Please, I did not mean any disrespect. Please do not hurt me." Bronk raised one massive fist. "Hey!" The single word cut through all the noise. Everyone turned to see Danny walking toward the confrontation. His face was calm, but his eyes were focused on the Krethian with an intensity that made the air feel electric. Bronk turned around, annoyed. "What do you want, Softskin?" Danny stopped about 3 feet away. He was much smaller than the Krethian, who was nearly 7 feet tall and incredibly heavy. But something about the way Danny stood made him seem bigger somehow. "Leave the little guy alone." Bronk laughed harshly. "Or what? You think you scare me, human? You are not so impressive up close. Maybe all those stories are exaggerated." "Maybe," Danny said quietly. "But let me tell you something. Where I come from, we have a saying. It's not about how big you are. It's about how much fight you have inside you." "I do not understand." Danny took one step closer. His voice dropped to almost a whisper, but somehow everyone in the gymnasium could hear him clearly. "Back home, I played a sport called football. Not the kicking kind. The kind where you run at someone as fast as you can and knock them to the ground. I've been hit by guys twice your size and gotten back up. I've broken 2 ribs and finished the game. I've run until I threw up and then kept running. That's what humans do. We don't stop, ever." He let those words hang in the air. "Now, I came to this academy to learn and make friends. I don't want trouble. But if you ever threaten one of my classmates again, I will show you exactly why Earth is classified as a death world." The gymnasium was dead silent. Bronk, who had faced many opponents in his life, found himself stepping backward. Something deep inside him was screaming that he was facing a predator. Not a bigger predator, but a more dangerous one. A creature that had fought its way to the top of the food chain on a world where everything wanted to kill it. "This is not over," Bronk muttered. But his voice had no strength in it. "Yeah, it is." The Krethian turned and walked away. Nobody tried to stop him. Danny turned to Squee, and instantly his whole manner changed. He became friendly and awkward again. "Hey, you okay?" "Sorry if I scared you. I know I can be kind of intense sometimes." Squee stared up at the human with enormous eyes. Then, slowly, the tiny Tramari did something that had never happened before in galactic history. They hugged him. "Thank you," Squee squeaked. "Thank you, human Danny." Danny smiled and gently patted the small creature on the head. "No problem, little buddy. That's what friends are for." The athletics exhibition was held in the Grand Arena, a massive building that could hold over 50,000 spectators. The seats were arranged in a spiral so everyone could see the performance area in the center. Today, those seats were completely full. Representatives from hundreds of worlds had come to watch. News cameras from across the galaxy were broadcasting live. Danny stood in the athlete preparation area, surrounded by students from dozens of species. Everyone was waiting for their turn to perform. The Tramari would show their incredible short burst speed. The Gorthax would demonstrate their amazing strength. The Florixians would do a synchronized dance that involved photosynthesis. And Danny would face something called the Gauntlet. Coach Thrin had explained it to him earlier. The Gauntlet is the final challenge. It is an obstacle course that gets harder as you go. It has 15 stages. No one has ever completed it. The current record is reaching stage 7. What happens if I complete it? Then you will be the first being in history to do so. The exhibition began with opening ceremonies. There were speeches about unity and working together. There was a musical performance by aliens who communicated through glowing lights. Danny watched it all with wonder. Even after months at the academy, the galaxy still amazed him. Then the demonstration started. The Tramari went first. Squee led a group of the tiny creatures in a dazzling display of speed. They moved so fast they seemed to teleport, zigzagging across the arena in glowing patterns. The crowd cheered loudly. The Gorthax followed. Morb led a group that slowly, carefully lifted enormous weights. It was impressive in its own way, like watching something ancient and powerful. Other species took their turns. Danny watched each one with real appreciation. Every species had evolved to be good at something. Every species had found a way to survive on their own world. And then it was his turn. Representing Earth, the first human student in Academy history, please welcome Danny Kowalski. Danny walked into the arena. The crowd did not cheer exactly. It was more like 50,000 beings all, holding their breath at the same time as they got their first good look at a real Deathworlder. Danny waved awkwardly and tried not to show his teeth when he smiled. The first challenge was an endurance run. The Academy record was 45 minutes at top speed. Danny ran for 2 hours at a comfortable pace and was disappointed when they told him to stop. The second challenge was the vertical leap. The record was 4 meters. In the lighter gravity, Danny jumped 8 meters and had to be caught by a safety field before he hit the ceiling. The third challenge was reaction time. Participants had to touch glowing targets as fast as possible. The record was 30 targets in 10 seconds. Danny hit 47. His hand moved so fast the tracking system had trouble following it. The fourth challenge was lifting. The Crethian record was 300 kilograms. Danny warmed up with 300. Then he did 400. Then he asked for 500. He lifted it, held it for 3 seconds, and set it down carefully. The arena fell silent. Then someone started clapping. The sound spread until 50,000 beings were applauding. Danny raised one hand to acknowledge them. And now, the announcer said, the final challenge. The Gauntlet. The floor of the arena shifted and changed. Obstacles rose from hidden compartments. Platforms arranged themselves into a 3-dimensional maze of challenges. Danny could see climbing walls, swinging pendulums, balance beams, target galleries, and much more. The gauntlet has never been completed, the announcer explained. The course adapts to the participant. The better you do, the harder it becomes. Danny stepped up to the starting line. Ready? Ready. Begin. Danny moved like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. Stage 1 was a basic obstacle course. He finished it in 11 seconds. Stage 2 added moving platforms and swinging pendulums. Danny navigated through them as if they were standing still. Stage 3 fired foam projectiles at him. He dodged the first few, then started catching them and throwing them back. Stages 4, 5, 6, 7. Each stage was supposed to be harder than the last. Each stage fell faster than the one before, as Danny learned the patterns and adapted. By stage 8, the course was being pushed beyond anything it had done before. It started combining challenges in new ways. By stage 10, warning lights were flashing as systems overheated. By stage 12, the crowd was on their feet, screaming with excitement. By stage 14, the entire galactic press was broadcasting to billions of viewers. And then Danny reached stage 15. The final stage was a simple platform, 20 meters above the ground. A glowing orb sat on a pedestal in the center. There were no obvious obstacles. Danny approached carefully. The trap was elegant and simple. The platform suddenly dropped away. At the same time, the orb launched itself upward, flying away from him. The course had created a choice: save yourself from falling or catch the orb. No being could do both, but Danny was a human. In the moment before the platform disappeared, he launched himself upward with all his strength. In the light gravity, he rocketed toward the rising orb like a missile. He caught it. And then he was falling 20 meters toward the ground. Danny tucked his body into a ball, protecting the orb. He hit the ground hard enough to crack the impact-resistant floor, and he stood up, bruised. He would be sore for days. But he was standing, holding the orb, the first being in history to complete the gauntlet. The silence stretched for a long moment. Then Squee's tiny voice rang out from somewhere in the stands. "That's my friend. That's my friend Danny." The arena exploded with cheers. Later that night, back in their shared room, Crick spoke to Danny about how things had changed. "When I first learned I would be living with a human, I prepared my will," Crick admitted. "I was sure you would kill me." Danny looked up from icing his bruises. "Really?" "Yes, but now I know that humans are not just killing machines. You are also capable of kindness. You protect the weak. You make real friendships. You are terrifying, yes, but you are also good." Danny felt his face get warm. "Thanks, Crix. That means a lot. Of course, you are still the most dangerous being I have ever met. I still sometimes have nightmares about you chasing me." "Well, nobody's perfect." From his jacket pocket, Squee's tiny voice spoke up. "Danny is perfect. Danny is the best human." Danny smiled. "Thanks, little buddy." The Academy would accept more human students in the following years. Each one would need similar adjustments, similar time for everyone to stop being afraid. But Danny had shown them something important. Humans were scary, yes, but they could also be friends. They could also be heroes. And somewhere in the Academy, Brock the Crethian was telling anyone who would listen about the human who had stared him down with nothing but determination. "They are crazy," Brock would say, his voice mixing fear and respect. "Absolutely crazy. And that is what makes them so dangerous." Danny, when he heard this, just smiled. It was probably the nicest thing the Crethian had ever said about anyone.